This is Jay Smith, assistant coach, University of New Orleans. You know, I'm always rocking with my guys over here at FanView Podcast.
Y'all already know what it is, man. Another episode, FanView Podcast.
The FanView Podcast.
Ooh,
Man. Come on, man. Come on.
The
now. Put
FanView
respect
Podcast.
on it. The.
The.
You know how they say, like, the Ohio State?
But I ain't no Ohio State fan.
Just saying.
Y'all already know what it is. I'm that boy Fred.
G-Sportz back at it.
Coach Hurricane hit.
In the building. You got that again and again and again.
Again. Put some bass in your voice.
Y'all already know what it is, man.
I'm trying my falsetto.
Y'all already know what it is. Listen, get subscribed, FanView Podcast. Like, share, comment. You know, share a friend with a friend. Y'all already know what it is. It's a FanView Podcast. If you're on YouTube, it's FanView Live. If you're on IG, it's FanView NOLA. If y'all are on Twitter, it's FanView Podcast. If y'all on TikTok, and y'all subscribe to us on each and every podcast platform y'all could think about. But we got a special guest, baby.
You know it.
Another one. We back at it again. Representing New Orleans Privateers. Assistant basketball coach, Jay Smith.
Appreciate y'all for having me today.
It's been some time.
I don't know if am I a special guest now at this point?
He kind of a little better in the game.
You family.
I just said, I've been here a few times now.
Yeah.
On the
I
court.
hadn't got to sit on this nice couch or anything yet.
Yeah.
I've been here
You
for a
second
couple
cousin
times.
now.
Yeah.
Cub Pete. Cub
Cut
Pete.
Pete. Jay's been cutting Pete around it. Y'all already know what it is, man. Listen. Like G-Sportz, like to always talk about, man, when we get ready to start this podcast. Why don't you start it off, G? I like the way you do it, the way you introduce us.
Man, Jay already know, man. Been knowing it for a long time. Basketball junkie. That's why I always enjoy engaging in conversation with him about, recruiting and the basketball world, what's going on in NBA, college, high school. I always take stuff from him and kind of taking it to my retrospect with different kids I mentor and things of that nature. But man, Jay, just talk about this long basketball journey, bro. From what got you so interested in want to be a passionate connoisseur in a sense of a basketball mind that you are from middle school, high school, college, and then ultimately jumping into the coaching game, after you dropped out of college.
True. I mean, just being around it. My older brother, watching him play growing up. Sitting down, reading the Advocate every Saturday and Sunday morning, going through all the scores in the area, learning who the best players was. I mean, I'm 12, 13 years old, and me and my brother having in-depth conversations about guys like Randy Livingston and Lester Earl. Tony Cole, Mark Young, and those guys that were legends in the Baton Rouge area that we were really reading about in the newspaper on every single weekend. Seeing who had the most numbers in the city,
Right.
Trying to figure out, what guys were the next up and comers and things like that. Then, obviously we didn't have all this social media and YouTube and things.
You had to watch. You had to read the paper.
So you had to really read the paper. You had to
Times
really,
picking you in, baby.
you had to really dive
The
into
Advocate.
the Parade magazine and learn about who the best players in the country
Yup.
was.
Mm-hmm.
If we got enough money, we run to the store and buy a Street and Smith's magazine,
Mm-hmm.
so we can really
Ooh, you
research.
took it back with that one.
Yeah, so we can figure out who the best players were. So, I mean, my passion developed there. And then, obviously we got lucky every now and then when you get to see the McDonald's game. And if for some reason they happen to flash the Magic Johnson Round Ball Classic,
Mhm.
before it became the Jordan Classic, obviously.
Right.
We got to see those things. So,
The ABCD count back then.
yes.
So,
Just, those things like that. And then as I grew up, man, playing for Toby St. Cyr, he's the head coach at Livonia now. But he was just finishing up at Northwestern State.
Right.
So he came and became our assistant coach. And he was the first one to kind of tell me I was going to be a coach. Obviously, I didn't want to hit it at 18, 19 years old. But, going to UL Lafayette, trying to be a walk-on over there. Coach Evans had some studs on those teams over there. I mean, they made, I want to say, 3 NCAA tournaments in a 6-year span.
yeah.
And then went to the NIT maybe once or twice as well.
Mhm.
So, I mean, they were loaded with talent. So, obviously my basketball career didn't go as panned out. And obviously we didn't have the information that these kids have now to go to.
Did that hurt at the
NAIA.
time when you realized the basketball career is done?
Absolutely. Because in our mind, that's all we thought. We thought we were going to go play Division I college basketball.
Right.
Right.
We didn't have the knowledge that these kids have nowadays to know about the NAIAs, to know about the JUCO world, especially
Right.
me being from a country town like New Rose.
Yeah.
Nobody was sending
You,
us that
you
information.
didn't know about that.
And
Exactly.
to get a coach to come find where your high school is, to want to give you an opportunity to come to that school, like you had to really have someone working to give you to find that opportunity for you. So the program, like things didn't go my way with as far as walking on that Lafayette, but I got to build some great relationships in the basketball world with those guys. Coach Robert Lee was the assistant at the time. He was from New Roads.
Right.
So, I used to get to hang around the office with him and talk to him all the time and learn more ins and outs of the program and how things work.
Did you think that helped you, like starting off that young, picking like your coach's minds on like the program and like the other nuances of the basketball, like to get you to the level that you're at right now?
Absolutely. Like, just being around it and seeing it and then having friends that were on the team and just getting to learn about the daily
Brad
grind.
Boy was on that team, right?
Brad
when he
Boy
was,
was on that team.
Yeah.
Dwayne Mitchell right here from John F. Kennedy.
Yep.
Larry Bridges went to Carver.
Yep.
Antoine Landry played at De La Salle.
Twine.
Yeah.
Twine.
So,
That's a name there.
Yeah.
absolutely. So,
That's a name.
Undersized too.
undersized. I mean,
He
had
ain't played.
had a heck of a senior year, man. I mean, they made the tournament. And I mean, he had some big time performances.
Was he there at the same time when Orion Green transferred from Florida?
They all played together.
Great.
Orion Green and those guys all got
Yep.
eligible that season.
Yep.
It was Twine's senior year, and he had a heck of a year. I mean, he put up 25 in the tournament at Arizona versus Arizona. I think they were top 5 in the country with Salim Stoudemire,
Stoudemire.
and those
Stoudemire.
guys.
Mm-hmm.
They made the NCAA tournament, played NC State with Julius Hodge. Twine had a big game in that game. Almost pulled it out. So yeah, he had a really fun senior year to watch. But just having relationships with all those guys and seeing how they went through things day in and day out, it definitely helped me out. And then, like you say, I know you touched on it a little bit. As my college years went on, I ended up having to drop out because I had a son in 2006.
Mm-hmm.
And that was right around the time I was almost finished with school, but I had life hit.
Right.
So as that was happening, I'm figuring out how to raise a son, work 40 hours, work 40 hours a week at Best Buy, and then I got offered the opportunity to be a volunteer coach at Como High School. So and that jump started my coaching career, and I got my first opportunity with Coach Rob Malone. He's at Iowa High now.
Mm-hmm.
They made the top 28 this year.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to give him a shout out because
Yeah.
Coach has really made the top 28 at every school he's been at.
Right.
I mean,
Wow.
from Lacassine to Como and now at Iowa. I mean, every school he's been at, he's made the top 28.
Right.
So, I mean, him giving me my first opportunity, I mean, the guy didn't know me from anybody. I was a young 22-year-old walking in the gym. He didn't know who I was. Gave me a chance to work in this program.
How did that happen though? What made him say, "Let me get this 22-year-old who dropped out of college an opportunity to come, pour into these kids?"
So he had just got the job at Como. I'm working at Best Buy. One of my real good friends to this day, Andre Robichaux, was the volunteer coach at Como under Jerry Lane right before Coach Malone got hired. Well, when Andre was graduating, he ended up getting a job at Midland over around Crowley.
Mhm.
So he got his first paying job. Como was looking for somebody to just hire Coach Malone, so he just needed some help. And Andre came to me one day at work and was like, "Hey man, I don't know if you want to do it or not, but it may be an opportunity for a volunteer spot over at Como. Maybe a little stipend, maybe pay $5,000 or something like that. But it'd be an opportunity for you to go see if you like coaching." He was like, "I know me and you talk basketball every day here at work."
Right.
So I mean, I went up there and met with Coach. And I mean, my first meeting with him was like, "Hey, come on in and just come work with the guys." Like, it wasn't even a sit down. It was like, I just need help. And I mean,
And that was the start of your journey.
that was the start of my journey right
Wow. Damn. It's funny how everybody opportunity just
It's different.
is so different.
But it has a lot of similarities, especially when you talk about this interview process.
Yeah.
It's different for everybody, but if you talk to some of the coaches that we talked to now, that first interview going to that college job wasn't about X's and O's. It wasn't about in football, the chalkboard, the details. It was just about who you are as a person.
That's it.
Who you are as a
That's
person.
Because ultimately, you want to make sure you got a good person around these 14, 15, 16, 17, 18-year-old kids, bro. You don't want just no any Joe Blow around these kids, man, because, it's about basketball and trying to develop them, but you also want a role model around them, too.
Also, too, you gotta think too. The coaching, I think it gets overlooked in the journey. It's a brotherhood. So you want somebody that's a good person. That look, I'm gonna be spending 10+ hours a day with you. I'm gonna be conversating with you and stuff. So I don't want no shady person
Mm-hmm.
around me that I potentially gonna have to bring around my family and stuff. You
Yeah.
know, because perception is reality.
So this what I kind of want to get into because I know you was at Como. How many years you was at Como?
I did 8 years there.
They're 8 years.
Woo.
Yeah.
So, and I know times are way different from as far as the type of kids we're seeing now in this generation from back then, right?
Yeah.
But what I'm noticing from a lot of kids and parents, and I'm gonna just go ahead and say it and just be transparent, man. I feel like a lot of kids are soft these days. Not all of them, but a lot of them. And I think a big part of it is because
Bounty?
Huh?
Bounty tissue paper?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
Not
Yeah.
even bound. They like
Yeah.
they
Walmart
dollar
brand.
they dollar store brand.
yeah,
Also brand.
yeah. And it's like it's almost to the point where it seems like coaches can't coach kids hard anymore. You gotta kind of tiptoe around what you tell them because the parent might come up there and curse you out and start all kind of controversy with you because of how you're coaching their kid. But at the end of the day, me just being around a lot of different programs, bad programs, good programs, college programs, high school programs, sometimes that is needed. And I think sometimes kids, they listen to how you're saying it, but they're not listening to what you're saying.
Or why you saying it?
There you go. And how it's going to benefit them, not only in a game of basketball, but in life. Talk about, what's the differences, man, from back then to now? And how do coaches these days navigate through, situations where you got kids that you just can't coach hard like you used to?
I mean, one thing I can say, man, is like for me, and I know all of us come from the same, from the same upbringing. So it's like I didn't, I didn't believe I was being coached unless I was being yelled at. That was
Right.
just the way we came up. But I
Same
just
way.
think now, like
Agree. I can agree with that.
as these kids, are different, and the generation is different because these kids will ask you a question, like why, like they'll if you're yelling at them, they're gonna ask like why.
Man,
They're
Coach
not afraid
Tripp-
to ask why. This
Yeah.
generation is not afraid to ask why.
When we was coming up, we just did whatever
We
you
just
told
did
us
whatever
to.
we was told.
They got more liberty today,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
They got more liberty today.
So
You're right about
title.
that.
I think like you can still be tough with these kids, but a lot of it is about getting them to trust first. Because
Okay.
when they trust, you can be a little different with them because they know you have their best interests at hand. But a lot of times it's about can you get them to trust first.
Right.
And once you get them to trust,
You can
then
push.
you know how you can
You can
how
push
you can
certain
get after. You
envelopes.
can push more buttons on them. And then now certain kids they just can't handle it. So now you still have to figure out how do I get the same message across without having to yell and scream. So it challenges us as coaches to sharpen our skill sets more. Because again, I mean, just in the time, I won't even go as far back as to when I first started coaching at Como. Just from my time being at Wiley to me being at UNO now, like I've figured out I have to have different ways and different approaches with each kid
Right.
because it's just not. I won't call them solve because it's just you just have to find different ways to get them motivated to do the job that you're asking them to do. Now, again, ultimately, my biggest thing is we still have to teach life lessons through the sport that we all are called to, mentor these kids through. So, my life lesson is to get them to understand, like, every day, like, I'm not trying to hurt your feelings when I yell at you because you're going to leave from with me when it's all said and done. And you're going to go out there in life. And at some point in life, you're going to go work a job for somebody. And that boss is not going to tell you how you want it. It's not going to tell you how you want it said to you. They're going to tell you get the job done.
Right.
And if you don't get the job done, they're going to bring somebody else in. So that's been the new way for us to approach it. Is just we just teach it through life lessons now, as opposed to us just like we said when we were coming up. Someone just yelled at us and said, "Hey, go do that," and we didn't ask any questions.
Right, we
went
just did it.
That's it.
Yeah.
But now we just give more life lessons out of it and teach that way and still get the same message.
You got to reach them before you teach them.
That's it.
That's what they say. I was just taught, and you just figure the rest of this stuff out. But I want to ask you this question, Jay. I know you're a big fan of basketball, and now you're coaching college basketball. But we had the chance to watch the NCAA tournament this year, men's basketball, and we didn't see no number 1 seeds, no number 2 seeds, no number 3 seeds, no number 4 seeds, but 1 4 seed made the final.
UConn was the
4.
4, huh?
UConn was 4. Miami was 5. San Diego State was 5. And I think Florida Atlantic was 9.
Was
Yeah,
nine.
it was 9.
Yeah.
Talk about the shift in college basketball that you're seeing now. A lot of the parity now is not just these Power Five. It's not just the Dukes no more. It's not just Kansas. It's not just Carolina. It's not just Kentucky. Talk about the differences you see in college basketball, and can we expect something in the future with these? Let's say Final Four not looking like the prima donnas.
with the Blue Bloods.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, just the fact that we saw a Final Four with no ones and twos and no blue bloods. Like, I don't think I can remember a point in life
Me either.
Right.
growing
never
up
recall
that
a time.
I think this is the first time since I forgot what year they said that no number one seed was in the Final Four.
yeah.
No.
So I mean, just for us to see it that way, it was different. But I enjoyed it because I mean we need to bring more attention and more light to these other programs.
Right.
Like seeing Florida Atlantic do what they did this year, Dustin May did a hell of a job.
Right.
And obviously, some people that the things they want to point out is, you have older guys because of COVID. You know, smaller programs retain guys because these bigger schools have guys that are one and dones and pros that leave.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, for him to be able to retain the guys that he had in the transfer portal world
Yeah.
and be able to run through a very tough conference, because just the conference that they were in this past year, I mean, for them to have a team in the Final Four, have two teams in the NIT championship game,
Mm-hmm.
and then have a team in the CBI championship as well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that was the top four seeds in their league. So for that conference alone, like, I want to see the shift where conferences like that get more respect and start getting more than just one bid in.
Get more at larges.
Because there's no way you're telling me that UAB and North Texas couldn't have been in this tournament this year and made noise.
Could you give a little slight push to Tulane? Could Tulane possibly got in?
Possibly.
They had 21 wins.
21 wins
21 wins.
in a tough
21
American.
Yeah.
21 wins in a tough
Because
American.
everybody knew, I was talking to Jalen Cook, and he knew the only way they was going to get in the tournament is if they had beat Houston
Houston.
and won the whole
thing.
conference championship.
Won the
And
conference
to me, I'm like, bro, come on now.
But that's the only way they would have got multiple teams in too. That conference.
That conference,
'Cause,
yeah.
Those
like
small
you said,
conferences.
you still would have had to get Houston in there. That's what
Yeah.
they did all season.
Memphis is going to get in there too.
Yeah, Houston and Memphis
Yeah,
got it,
yeah,
but that
yeah.
was it.
Yeah.
So like, I would much rather see a conference like the American get 3 teams in. I would much rather see Conference USA get 2 teams.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, and I'm asking that question because I'm watching basketball shift, and I don't just think that the ACC is just it may be the most popular conference. It got the Virginias, it got the Marylands, it has the heritage of great basketball, right? But these smaller conferences now, and the way they're coaching kids and getting kids to play basketball the right way, I think that they're doing such a great job to where, we need to see more of that in the tournament, because
Absolutely.
some of these schools now are starting to get some kids that's going to stick around and play the game the right way, and they're going to cause fits for, Kansas. They'll call fits for a Kansas State or somebody like that, or somebody in the Big Ten, or somebody or the Pac-12 or somewhere like that. You're like, man, no. Them kids down there, and they'll give those kids more recognition in college basketball.
Yeah.
So I think it's no coincidence that Roy Williams, Jay Wright, and Coach K all decided to call it a career around the same time,
Correct. Kyler Perry's the only one who's trying to stick around.
right? And so Jay Wright is one of my favorite coaches of all time in college basketball, just because, first of all, I love the Italian suits he wore.
Boy, it suits me off the chain.
Off the chain.
Off
Off
the
the chain.
I gotta say, the first time I ever went to my first Final Four was in 2015, and we were
In Houston?
we were in Indianapolis,
Okay.
and we were at the champions luncheon. It was they have the luncheon where all the champions from all levels
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
sit down and eat, and they have a big deal for that. And we had just won the conference conference championship at LSUA my first year.
Mm-hmm.
His suits don't even look like everybody else's suits. When you see it in person, like, it don't even look the same. Like,
Right.
it just looks different.
It look different.
Yeah.
Gotta go to it.
It's like there's tailor made,
Yeah.
and there's Jay
Yes.
Wright.
Yes. Like, it's just completely different. Like,
Yes.
I'm looking at it, I'm like, man, is that, like, what type of fabric is that? Because that ain't the normal fabric everybody else got on up here.
Bro, when
Jay Wright made.
I started noticing, I've been watching Jay Wright since when he had Randy Foy and all them boys back in the day with Allen Ree and all
Right.
them, and I always paid attention to his suit game. I'm like, bro, his suit game official.
Right.
And then I just started watching him as a coach, and I always liked how he always get these diamond in the rough kids, these 3 stars or people that nobody's really talking about, and he develop them. And Villanova is always a top 10, top 5 team in the
They were
country
dogging
every
when he
year.
got Scott Reynolds,
Yeah.
though.
Huh?
They were trying to dog him when he got Scott Reynolds.
Yeah, yeah,
Kansas
yeah.
was trying to dog him.
Yeah.
Mario Jones was like, "Oh, we're gonna fix you."
yeah, yeah. But I think it's no coincidence that Jay Wright, Coach K, and Roy Williams all decided to call it quits around the same time.
Right.
You know, do you think it's because of dealing with the transfer portal, the NIL, and just the new ages that we're coming into with college basketball?
Absolutely. I mean, those guys, they didn't want to deal with this rat race that we're in now. I mean, those guys, like the blue bloods, like your program meant something. Like going to certain programs meant something.
Right.
And now, I mean, every kid's looking for who got the best deal for me.
Correct.
And
Going to Georgetown mattered.
like, having the opportunity to say, I'm going to play for Coach K. I'm going to play for Roy Williams. Like, those things matter.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
To some of these kids now, I don't think that matters to them. Who has the best deal for me?
Right.
I mean, you have kids just transferring within the same conference.
Yeah.
Like, I play for you. I average 14 points a game for you, but this school over here has a better deal for me. So I'm not about to stay here.
Right.
And I just don't think those guys, with all the work those guys have put in over the years, I just don't think they want to deal with that stuff.
When you see kids that say they're at a UL, lead their team in scoring conference player of the year, and a blue blood comes calling, what's your take on kids leaving a school where they the guy, they the man, and putting them numbers and got a lot of film that could put them in position to even go get a good overseas contract or put themselves in a situation to get drafted. But they decide to leave that situation and go to a blue blood school, and now they just a player that's coming off the bench or they're a role player,
So I lived this life
right?
with a kid that I think you know. I just don't want to bring his name up
Right.
here because what he went through up there.
Right.
But part of it was the kid. He saw the opportunity as it's an opportunity for me to go to a bigger school, get more exposure, make the NCAA tournament, not have to fight in a one bid league.
Right.
So that was the things that he wanted to do. So he was looking at it that way. But like you said, if that doesn't pan out for you, you're starting over from scratch.
Right.
When you try and go figure out how to go be a pro after that, because all they see is what you did in that last season, as opposed to where if you'd have stayed at that mid major and been first team all conference, or possibly be player of the year, and put up really good numbers, you can walk into a really good professional contract, possibly put yourself into some NBA workouts and things like that. So, I mean, it's a lot. It's a tough deal for these kids because some kids look at it as an opportunity to live their dream because that's the way they look at it.
Right.
But then they don't tell enough of the story about the kids who make that jump and then things don't go their way.
Right.
And,
Right.
And that's not getting told enough with this transfer portal that we're living right now.
Right. Right. And then on the flip side of it, you got a kid, I forgot where he was. It was a small school. He transferred to Minnesota from a small school, and he actually was the second leading scorer on Minnesota team. And now he's put himself in position to be a draft pick.
Yeah.
So it has
its pros and its cons.
Yeah,
It has
you know what I'm
its pros and
saying?
its cons.
But
Double-edged sword, pretty much.
right, but my thing is, kids need to be guided better, man.
Absolutely.
Because you got to know what situation you're going into. You can't just look at it and say, "Oh, I'm going to a big Power 5 school. Man, let me go transfer." You got to know that you're going into a situation where you're gonna have the same role
Or resources.
similar.
Resources.
Yeah, to what you had at the school you leave.
Well, I'm gonna say, make sure you do your research with the coach that you go and play for, because they're gonna tell you what they need to tell you to get you there.
Of course.
Right.
That's the big part.
Sound like me with the women.
He really said that. Okay.
But
We're on Family
But-
Podcast, baby.
but when you get there, you got to make sure the situation is really set up for you to really go in there and flourish.
Right.
So I would say a lot of kids, you better really pay attention to. If I know I'm a guy that plays off the bounce and has played a million ball screens for the last 2 to 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm not going to play for somebody that is going to take the ball out of my hand.
And we run in motion the whole game.
Exactly. Because that doesn't benefit you.
Right.
You know, at the end of the day, you got to make sure you still put yourself in a scenario where you're playing for someone that's going to allow you to still be the best version of you.
Let me ask you this, because in other sports, you keep hearing the system, the system, the system, 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 and I think one thing that gets covered up, especially like in my sport, is like even when you have a great system, but and the players are not at the caliber that you once had once time, but you have so many numbers that you can kind of hide the fact.
Yeah.
But then on basketball, you got 5 on the court, so you might be a motion triangle type offense. You know what I'm saying? But you talking about you got a guy like Shaq, you got a guy like AI, and stuff like that can get things done for you. But then you replace that with a Stromile Swift, or this is like and your system is still good, but the level of the player has came down, and you automatically go from this wizard of a great coach to, man, y'all horrible. Talk about that, especially in the realm of basketball, because it's a skill driven sport,
Right.
rather than you could just I could throw numbers at you in this sport.
Well, the first thing they're going to tell you is you better go get some players. I don't care how great of a coach you are. Right? You better have some players that can go get the job done for you.
Right.
But, the challenge is like you say. I mean, if the talent isn't up to par from what you normally have, then you better be able to tweak some things to make it work for the guys that you do have and still figure out how to be successful. Because at the end of the day, I mean, we're in a success-driven business. So, no matter what, I still have to figure it out with the pieces. Like, nobody's going to say, hey, we're going to turn our head the other way and just say, hey, he just didn't have enough talented guys this year. They're going to say, well, you brought those guys in here, so you better figure it out and still figure out how to win with them. So, I mean, my system may be my system, but I may have to tweak some things to make it work for this particular group.
Well, how hard is it to go against your system when you just got I think about a kid that G covered a couple years back, AJ Rainey, he's just an elite scorer. Right. He's an elite scorer.
Yeah.
But your system is predicated on doing this and that, but your team actually is doing better when the ball is in his hand. Whether it's him getting his own or the attention's on him to where it creates. So how hard is it to go against what you know and with the foundation of the other 11 guys you got on your roster, but this one guy,
he make things happen.
Yeah.
He make things happen.
You had a kid like that last year.
Yeah. I mean, that's the beauty of having guys like that, though. Like, I mean, we still have to be successful with that guy. And if that guy is the best player, then I still have to find opportunities to where we can still be who our culture is, but I still have to find ways within it to allow him to be who he is. And, him being who he is a lot of nights will help you win a lot of games. So, I mean, it's hard to a degree, but, I mean, as coaches, we have to be open-minded enough to tweak things enough to allow that player to be the best version of themselves. So, I mean, you find some people that are stubborn and stuck in their ways. I mean, it happens. And we all get caught in it sometimes. But, ultimately, again, if it goes back to if I want to be successful and I want to win, then I got to do what's best to put every player in the best possible situation to give us the best chance to win that night.
Well said.
I like that.
And when I've been paying attention to a lot of these potential NBA prospects for this upcoming draft, man, and I think we're in a new age where
You want to know my name?
No, it ain't that. It ain't that. What I was about to say was, I think we're in a new age where you're not seeing as many college kids being at the top of the draft, right?
Yeah.
3 out of the 4 potential top 4 picks in this draft, Victor Wembanyama, Scoot Henderson, Brandon Miller, and Amen Thompson.
Amen Thompson. I like Scoot Henderson.
3 out of those 4 are not in college right now.
Right.
Brandon Miller's the only one. Is that what we going to? Are we going to where kids are just going to start going to the G League and going to play for overtime elite and going overseas rather than going to college and playing on that platform? Like, where are we headed in this direction for as NBA prospects?
I mean, ultimately, I still believe, even though 3 of the top 4 guys are projected guys that didn't play college basketball,
Right.
there's still going to be guys that play college basketball that'll dominate the top 10.
Mhm.
And for these guys, once money got involved,
Right.
with everything,
Because I think overtime elite paying people what 150K.
150K.
Yeah.
I think with the G Elite pay like
but no, I think them
100K.
kids made more than that. Because
Yeah.
I think
Scoot
Bryce.
Henderson.
But he's with Ignite.
Yeah,
Ignite, he's
So I
Ignite,
think he's
right,
like
right.
500,000.
Right.
But-
That's what Jalen Green did too, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Jalen Green did.
Yep.
Like,
But I think what was it, Bryce
Jalen
Griggs and the Tyler Smith kid out of Houston.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think they did a 2-year deal with Overtime Elite, and they got like 1.2 million over 2 years.
Mhm.
Yeah, so when you got that type of money, like life changing money involved
Yeah.
for a kid at 16 years old, how do you tell him not to take it?
right.
You know what I'm saying?
But with NIL in the mix now, do you think these universities could start matching what the G League and overtime elite is doing?
You can, but again, like those 2 kids I just named out of Texas, like they went and got those kids at 16. In college, I can't touch you till you're 18.
Right.
Correct.
These people are going to put
Right.
$1 million in front of you and your mama at 16 years old.
Life changing.
You know what I'm saying?
Mama.
Like,
Mama working at Popeyes. Look,
Yeah,
yo,
What I'm saying.
you good, man?
yeah.
You good.
It's tough, and like even with Scoot, like Scoot did, 2 years. I think it was 500,000 each year.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And he did it because he had to do 2 years because he was so young.
Yep.
So when they putting that type of money in front of you and your family at that age, like, how do you say no?
But so you feel like this going to be a continuous cycle going forward. So
Yeah, we'll have 2 to 3 guys that are top 5 in the draft that
Didn't play college
that
basketball.
won't step foot in college because these kids will.
but that's going to hurt college basketball.
Yes, it's hurt it for years now.
Do you think this is a bigger change, the money being added than the one and done?
Hell yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I'm just talking
Hell
about
yeah.
I'm talking about I'm not talking about I'm talking about the overall impact, because like the one and you had some schools, like I think like my favorite basketball team in college is Duke.
Nobody
Hey,
cares.
yeah, you just
Nobody
don't-
cares.
everybody
Nobody
hates
cares.
the GOAT.
Nobody
You know what I'm
cares.
saying? Everybody hates
Did
the
y'all make
GOAT.
the tournament?
Hey, don't worry.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we did.
Y'all
Absolutely.
did?
Yeah, we did. Did
Oh,
y'all?
first round?
Did y'all? Hey, where your
First
coach at? Anywho, he
St. John's University.
just
I'm a St.
barely
John's fan
barely getting the job. You know what I'm saying? But he got some bad shoes. I give it to you, baby. You know what I'm saying? You want the prostitute? Holla at his coach.
Oh, that wasn't even him. Wow, it was an assistant. That man ain't know what's going on.
Him and Hugh Freeze buddies.
Chill out.
Wow.
But like I think about some of the blue blood guys wouldn't touch or even attempt to recruit the one and done guy because they wanted they wanted the 3 to 4 year guy.
Well, Coach K.
Yeah,
said that
but
at first, and
you know
then
what I'm saying?
he
But
reneged
then
on
he
what he
changed
said.
it.
The only one
But
who
then-
didn't was Izzo.
But now,
No, Izzo went got
Yeah.
90 beats.
yeah.
Yeah, he got a few one and dones, but for
But
the
he-
most
but-
part,
but
he's
he-
still
he-
the traditional way.
But now I'm like on the recruit. That's what I'm getting like on the recruiting side of it. Now, if you see a Ignite flirting with this kid, this one is flirting with this kid, do you even attempt to try to make that? Because you're not gonna match. At the end of the
Resources.
day, at the end of the day, they got the number one thing that kid wants. It's not being on ESPN, this and that. They money to get them out that situation. They got the number one thing. Does that hinder recruitment now?
It does to a degree because you work on a kid, and that kid decides to go, to G League at night or to Overtime Elite. Well, that's a lot of hours and time that you spent into that kid for him to not even go to college. It's one thing if you lose, but it's part of a recruiting battle. Like, do I not recruit a kid because if Baylor's recruiting him? Do I
Right.
not recruit a kid because Iowa State's recruiting him?
Right.
At the end of the day, it's all still a recruiting battle at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
So I
And a
still have
relationship business.
to, exactly. So I still have to go after the best players, especially those guys at that level, because at the end of the day, like if I can get him, it's a win for us. But just as well as I was recruiting that kid and that kid decided to go to Kentucky, then I have to live with it. It's the same thing with recruiting against G League and overtime elite, and so I mean, it's still all the overseas people in play. I mean, Texas had a kid signed and done,
Yeah.
and the kid jumped up and went to Australia.
Yeah,
Just last week.
that just happened. Yep.
Yeah,
That just happened.
What his name was? Last name was Johnson. I
Johnson.
think.
Yeah,
Forgot his first name. Yeah.
So
I seen it.
I mean, so you still have to. I mean, was Texas not supposed to recruit that kid? He's a top 40 prospect.
Right.
Yeah.
And they had thought they had the kid done, and then the kid decided, I'm gonna go to Australia and make $1 million.
That bag.
Yeah,
I think that the difference would be is you got this situation now where kids are making business decisions versus skill development. Now, I'm not saying that they don't get skill development in the G League and the overtime elite. I'm not saying that. But their decision to go there is not for skill development. It is because of the resources, the money, to play basketball. When you go to college basketball, I always thought about you're here to develop your skill
Yeah.
as a player and potentially get drafted, and you get paid when you become a pro.
Yeah.
But you spend your college time developing your craft and developing your skill level to eventually become a pro. These kids are not choosing that. They're choosing to make money. Not to say they still don't get developed. I'm not undermining that. But the reason why a lot of kids, I think, chose college basketball was for skill. That's why you pick a lot of times when people went to a school, they picked the coach who was coaching it. Because the coach was going to develop you as a player, your skill set as a player to potentially play at the pro level. They're not picking overtime elite because of the coach that's coaching that. They picking that because they're getting 500,000.
But I think they go to it to kind of to jumpstart the living the pro lifestyle.
Right.
So like at the time, I mean, I know Kevin Ollie's not coaching it anymore, but Kevin Ollie was the coach.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So he was obviously a proven pro,
Yeah.
a national
Played in
champion,
the league.
national champion
At
as a
UConn.
coach at UConn. So you're getting skill development with him. On a daily basis, you're being coached up by him on a daily basis. You're getting that bag, as they like to say,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
and I don't have to go deal with
Class.
Class.
algebra 1001.
Right.
Study
You know what I'm saying?
hall.
I don't have to go to study hall.
I don't have to go to 101.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have to go. I don't have to go do all that.
But
So it's just them jumpstarting the pro lifestyle.
It's still kind of skill development because you're going against It's not like you're going against no Rudy Poo. You know what I'm saying? You're going against somebody with the same aspirations that you got.
Well, I remember when Brandon Jennings was coming out. He had committed to Arizona, right? And
Him and Jeremy Tyler.
yeah,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden, Brandon Jennings said, "I'm going overseas and play for a year."
Australia. He went to Australia.
Right?
Yeah.
And a lot of reports was coming out, and they was saying, "Well, why would he do that? Arizona's a blue blood school. He's gonna get developed. He's getting coached by one of the best coaches in the country. Woo." But a lot of the reports was saying, "Well, Australia was gonna get him more prepared for the pro game because of the spacing and the type of the way they play over there."
Right.
And
He had a heck of a rookie year.
I understood that in a sense, right? So going forward, as you see this keep happening, I'm just so worried because I love college basketball. I love college sports in general. I'm just so worried about it getting watered down, and now we not putting a good product on the floor. When you look at when I watched Duke this year, bro, in North Carolina, when they played each other, bro,
It wasn't the same.
I might have watched
It wasn't the same.
7 minutes.
It wasn't
7 minutes of real time, and I turned it off. I've never done that in my life.
But
It wasn't the
but
same.
is that a knock on college basketball, or is that just a knock on the top players are not choosing to go to the blue bloods anymore?
Both.
I don't, to
Both.
me,
Because to me, all right, you added the NIL. Great.
Yep.
I love that. The NCAA has to come up with some kind of way, a better way going forward of marketing college basketball versus how they've been doing it in the past. Because when you got all these different options out there, the G League, overseas,
you just hit the nail on the head. NCAA, I don't think ever really marketed college basketball. The players themselves was the marketing. The Zion Williamson, the Vince Carters, the Rasheed Wallaces, the Jason Kidds, even Steve Nash when he was at Santa Clara was like, they didn't put it, like ESPN didn't come out and say, hey, you got to watch this guy, play this. It's like, you heard the name, like, and you see it on ESPN, like, I got to go, I got to see him play. And that's where they fell short at.
even with like the McDonald's All-American, bro. Man, that was the thing
That was
to
the thing. That was
watch.
the thing to watch.
Yes.
That was the thing to pay attention to. That's not even being marketed like it used to be.
LeBron James' son was in it, and I didn't even know.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's not being. They got to do
didn't know the
better.
other kids.
So
When I was coming out, I knew all the kids who played them.
exactly.
So,
So my point is, I blame some of the top kids that's choosing to go elsewhere. I don't want to say I don't want to say I blame them because it's hard to tell a kid that come from poverty to pass up $1.2 million.
Are you blaming their decision, or
I don't even want to say blame.
yeah.
I don't. That's probably the wrong choice of words.
Question
It's just
it's lack of passion in college basketball right now?
I think that the
Stop it.
NCAA
Mhm.
and these universities just have to do a better job of marketing the sport better. Because this was the lowest ratings for the NCAA tournament. I think they said in the last 17 years.
But
or something like that.
how do you do it?
I don't get paid. That's out of my tax bracket.
With the well, I mean, see, but think about it. With the lack of McDonald All Americans getting it starts right there. Just because I think that's the reason why college football does so well. High school football recruiting is like
Yes,
like
it's
if
a big deal.
If a kid right now, it could be a 1-star kid, and I'm not kidding you. If a 1-star kid right now commit to Alabama, LSU, Texas, the Blue Bloods in college football, Bleacher Report is putting out there right now.
Yeah.
A high school basketball guy, unless you like that top 12, 10.
And that's a good point too. The recruiting is not covered by the media as extensive as it is for recruiting for football, high school football.
I agree.
It's not the same for high school basketball. It ain't.
But I add to this. When we was coming out watching college basketball, right? We're in the new age like we was talking about. We need, not to say that we don't need, don't have, but young coaches. When we was coming up, Coach K was, fairly a young coach.
Right.
Roy Williams was fairly a young coach. Izzo was fairly a young coach. So we had,
Rick Pitino.
was fairly young
The
coach.
oldest coach was Tommy Knight.
Yeah, Bobby Knight.
Bobby Knight.
Bobby Knight.
I'm sorry,
Right.
Bobby Knight.
And maybe what?
Tubby,
Tubby Smith.
Tubby
The
Smith.
guy at Temple, who was what?
John Chaney.
John Chaney.
Yeah.
That was probably some of our oldest coaches, and maybe Paul Silas. That was some of our oldest coaches, right? Then you had this younger wave of coaches coming in, and who they marketed. They marketed the player, but they also marketed those coaches.
Yeah.
Now we're in the place where
That's a good
now
point.
we have to market those coaches again. Those young coaches that's in college basketball that's creating that brand reputation to say, man, when I was a kid, man, I won't get coached by that guy.
Well, that's a good point because somebody like Jeremy Tane, who's at Kansas State, right?
Kansas State.
He did a hell of a job marketing himself throughout the season and throughout the tournament.
Yeah.
And some people don't like the antics and everything like that.
But you gotta
But
do it.
that is the new age of recruiting. Because now kids are saying, man, I like Kansas State coach. Don't even know him.
Don't even know him.
Don't even know him.
Don't
You see
even
him
know
with the dunks on. You know what I mean? He
dancing
playing
with
little
Baby
baby in the
Baby.
locker room.
And you got to do that.
He figured out I gotta find a way to touch this new generation.
Correct.
Some way, somehow.
So, but it got to go back to the guys you named, all the coaches from our time. Those guys were that program.
Yes.
Yes.
Those guys were that program.
They was the identity.
Yeah,
At the
they
end
were
of the
the
day,
identity.
When you thought of Kansas basketball when we were young,
It was Roy.
you thought of Roy Williams.
right?
When you thought of Duke basketball,
Krzyzewski.
you thought of Coach K. And when we can go further, you thought of Georgetown, you thought of Big John.
Yeah.
Yep.
Period.
Yeah.
Those coaches were the face.
Izzo with,
I mean,
with Michigan
now,
State.
just as much as we talk about these kids jumping in the transfer portal, the business that I'm in, these coaches are jumping around. And guys aren't the face of the program anymore.
No stability.
No.
Like UConn head coach Hurley.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know that's Bobby Hurley's brother.
Yeah.
Brother.
Yeah.
I'm telling certain people that they like, for real? I'm like, that's Bobby Hurley's brother. But that goes to your point. That is why
Because
that should
Calhoun
that
was
should
the
be,
face.
exactly. That should be
That's
marketed.
another name. That's another name.
Calhoun was
That
the
should be
face.
marketed. Like they,
Syracuse.
like
Who was Syracuse?
everybody should know that's Bobby
Jim
Hurley's
Boeheim.
brother.
Jim
Right.
Boeheim. Boeheim was the face of Syracuse. So when
Yes.
I'm going back to him saying that people went to Syracuse because Boeheim
Boeheim.
coach. Bitch, I'm going to play the 1-3-1.
And you better be long. Better be long.
Absolutely.
Better be
be long.
long.
You
With
know,
an
so-
athletic person on that back and like
Yeah.
a team warrior.
Hakeem Warren. I said, you better be athletic.
Yeah.
So you don't really have that in these young coaches yet. They haven't branded themselves yet in college basketball to where you say, you know what? This guy's going to be here. This guy's going to be here. This guy's going to be. So when you go to college basketball, man, I want to be trying to go to God.
you have to one have success,
Mhm.
and you have to two have real stability at that place and be there.
Plant roots.
Because if you don't, then you won't ever be the face of that program. Because 4 years and dudes are moving.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
If
4 years
that.
and dudes are moving.
I agree.
You know what I'm saying?
So
Let- On for the younger viewers out there, I just want to know for you as a college basketball coach, what is the difference between a high school kid? Let me rephrase that. What is the difference between a prospect that's like just strictly like swag, strictly CIAA, for like what separates them from like that Power Five kid or that solid mid major kid?
Well, I mean, some of them Power Five kids. I mean, and GC, he's been on the AAU circuit with me. Some of them dudes, when you walk in the gym, you look at him, you like that dude's big time.
right.
Like I mean, we saw Ant Edwards.
Yes.
And when the first time I saw that kid, I was like, that kid's a pro.
Yes.
He's a pro.
He's gonna be a long time pro.
Yes.
You know,
Seen him last night.
No.
Not 41.
Yes.
you know what I'm saying? Like my first time seeing Jalen Suggs, like when I saw him, I looked at that kid. I was like, that kid's a pro. Chet Holmgren,
Mm-hmm.
those guys, like you just like they just move different.
You big on check homework?
I am. I mean, 7 feet tall and move the way that he moves and does the things that he do. Like, that's special.
He just so light, man.
That's the only thing. That's
he
the only
just
concern
way-
I ever
He's
had
still
about him.
He's still a puppy, though.
I
He's
know,
still
but
a puppy.
I just feel
Yeah.
like
I
see-
if you
he resembles Dirk to me. I think he can have a Dirk Nowitzki level
you
career.
get him in the post, and I feel like one shoulder to him.
Well, he's just gonna use his length.
He got a
use his
cracked
lens and shoot
sternum,
over the
though.
top of you.
Yeah. Or if you try to overpower him, he's just gonna still use his length when you try to put a shot up and use his length to alter the shot or
Yeah.
get a deflection or
It's
whatever
just
the case may
his
be.
body. That would worry.
That
me.
was
It's
my
like
only concern
he's-
about
he's
Chick.
So he's
That's my only
like
concern.
it was It'll be different if he was like if he had some type. He's just so wiry,
Yeah.
and I just feel like, especially being a big,
Yeah, I mean, we had kids that went on to play at Power Fives and were really good, but certain kids just look different. Like we beat a lot of pros during our time,
Mm-hmm.
and we had kids that went to St. John, that went to Western Kentucky, that went to LSU, that went to Texas A&M. And we had all those kids,
Right.
but when you walk in the gym and you see Nas Reed. Nas Reed, you look at that kid, you're like, man, that kid there's a pro.
Yeah.
Pro.
Yeah.
He's a pro.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's just the size of them a lot of times speaks for itself, and then the ability will just jump out to you.
so
You
it's
walk
not
in-
so much the numbers.
No.
Nah.
It's
the
the
ability.
measurables.
No, I
The measurables.
because
The
some
Because there'll be a kid again. There's a kid in some small country town somewhere averaging 40.
yeah.
I mean, that's in every state.
Mm.
Some kid that none of us know about
Mhm.
that's in a back gym somewhere that can get to it. And it's a Power 5 kid that averaged 18 because he played on a team full of other really good players. And you're going to see the difference between that guy and the kid that averaged 40 by far.
Yeah. And sometimes it's about what is that kid being asked to do on that particular team.
That too.
And sometimes you in certain systems where it might not cater to your skill set. But a college coach can watch you play and look at certain traits and say, okay, he would be perfect with my system.
Right.
Yes.
And then you get him in your system and they flourish and people like, man, who this kid was? I don't remember him doing this in high school. He wasn't that good in high school. No, it wasn't that he wasn't that good.
He
It's just
wasn't
that he was
asked to do
asked to do certain things for that particular team in high school.
Yeah.
Now he's in college in a program where weightlifting and it's around the clock basketball. Now this particular coach got him in a situation to where he's catering to what he does well,
Yes.
and now he's flourishing, and that's what happens a lot of the time. But to go back to the circuit ball, with the transfer portal being so prevalent, do you think it's going to be a shortage of college coaches being on these shoe circuits evaluating high school kids?
Not in the summer. The spring will suffer though,
Why so?
because with the transfer portal,
You
Right.
recruiting that?
I'm recruiting. I'm bringing guys in on visits.
Visits.
So in a normal year, I wouldn't be doing that. I'd be getting ready to go out on the circuit this weekend, and then the same thing the following weekend.
But now you're hosting visits for
You're hosting
transfers.
visits because you got transfers and you got guys that you don't really know what number of guys you have to recruit. Because I can look at my depth chart and say, okay, well, we got 3 seniors. But then in the back of my mind, I'm like, well,
You got 4 guys that could transfer.
there may be 2, 3 guys that may walk in here and say, hey, coach, I want to go elsewhere. So then now, instead of me recruiting 3 guys,
You recruiting 6, 7.
I got to recruit 6. So then now I'm combing through the portal. I'm combing through JUCO guys. I'm combing through unsigned seniors, trying to figure out who I can get. And then I got to bring them in and host them on visits.
How hard is it recruiting your guys?
That's the most important thing of all of it.
Yep.
Like I'm saying, but how hard is it?
It's extremely hard.
You like G came in like, coach, man, look, I average 17. I know I could go to this system and boom, boom, boom.
That's the hardest part of all of it, because your ability to keep guys and have stability within your program is more important than anything else that you do. Because if you got some guys that can sustain your culture, you're probably going to have a good opportunity to have some success. But I mean, you have to be able to keep guys. I mean, like right now, we have a kid, Jordan Johnson, who averaged 19 a game in conference play, 18 on the season, number 1 3-point shooter in the country percentage-wise. I mean, everybody I talked to was like, man, I know it's hard for y'all to keep that guy. We were fortunate that he decided, came in literally the day after the conference tournament. Was like, coach, I'm here. I'm not seeking anything else. I'm with y'all. I think we got a really good chance to be pretty good next year. So this is what I want to do. Now, it's a lot of other places. A kid with those accolades in the Southland.
Yeah.
I need to get out of here. I need to go see what I can go do.
Right.
And that's happened to a lot of people. But we trust that it's, the relationships that we have with him. And we delivered on the things that we told him he could be in our program. Because he left Denver, and he was a 10-point per game guy. And probably shot it at like 41% from 3. When he comes to us and he averages 19 a game and he shoots it at 49% from 3. So, I mean,
incredible. Anything over 40%.
3-point line?
From 3.
Yeah.
Oh, you definitely.
I mean, you shooting the hell out the ball.
You stroking that thing.
You know what I mean?
Joe Harris?
Oh,
Yeah.
please don't bring Joe Harris.
Man,
up,
hey,
man.
you know I was the
Come on,
biggest
man.
Joe Harris.
Come on, man.
Right
Come
there.
on,
I'm still trying to figure out why.
Hey, he was stroking that thing, man.
I do want to go to the next level as we talk about the NBA. Man, it seems like, and we were talking about this with Coach A.J. Williams, Xavier head coach, on last week about the injuries we're starting to see throughout the NBA. And, David Griffin came out and said he doesn't like the word load management. He don't like that word, because there's so many players that's sitting out, 25 games a season?
He ain't replaced the word either.
Easy.
He ain't replaced the word load management. But load management it is, David Griffin.
Right.
Give me a new word.
Why do you think it's so many NBA players breaking down throughout the course of a season with injuries? When you talk about people like Zion, right here in our hometown, man.
Yeah.
Zion has played 50 games in the last 2 seasons. Brandon Ingram had a number of injuries this season where he set out like 40-plus games, right? You talk about somebody like Ben Simmons. I know he got a lot of stuff going on mentally, but he's battled a lot of injuries. Anthony Davis. The list goes on and on.
I have a lot going on mentally, too, if I lost $19 million.
Right.
Facts.
Right. But why do you think in today's game it's just so many injuries going on more than ever before in the NBA?
Well, first I want to say, I know y'all had AJ on last week. I want to just shout my brother out, man.
Yeah.
AJ is doing a hell of a job.
job.
Xavier, man.
Hell of a job.
Me and AJ go way back to working camps
Yep.
in 2010, 2011 together. He's doing a hell of a job at Xavier. I mean, we talk all the time, and I just wanted to shout him out again.
No
'cause
doubt.
He's doing a hell of a job.
No doubt.
But, I mean, I always go back to before they even get to the NBA when it comes to these injuries. These kids playing too much basketball.
Same thing Coach AJ was saying.
He's saying too much ball.
Playing too much basketball. You're never giving your body any time to rest. I mean, in high school, just think about when we were coming up. And you played basketball in basketball season, and if you were good enough to be on the AAU team, if you were good enough, you played AAU. And that was, you went to real tournaments.
Right.
And that was it. These kids now, I mean, soon as the horn goes off at the top 28, the next day, they're in AAU practice.
Yep.
And then, I know our state's a little different just because it's so spread out. Most coaches can't get all the kids in the gym all the time. But in other states, their teams are built off of kids in their city. So these guys got full blown workouts with these kids, 4 or 5 days a week and practices. Then they go play, you know, 30, 40, 50, 60 plus games.
Too much basketball.
It's too much basketball. And then now, for guys in our state, I mean, you got kids, as soon as the season ends, they're playing AAU from the end of March until the start of June. Then when June starts,
Summer league.
they're playing summer league and they're playing, you know, I mean, now guys got 30, 40 games scheduled in a month.
It's a lot.
Then you back in AAU in July. And then now the coaches have freedom to get in the gym with you all the time in high school. When do you ever slow down and take care of your body?
And then you probably, some of them going right into football.
That too. So, I mean,
They ain't got no time for
and in the other states, they got, fall ball leagues and things like that for these kids. So when do you ever recover your body? When do you ever take time off?
But my pushback to that Bug, I know a lot of y'all probably don't know that's his nickname, but we call him Bug. But my pushback to that is we're always preaching to him, you got to stay in the gym. You got to develop. You got to work on this. You got to work on that. So where is the balance? Where do you find a balance for your kid where you say you got to put the work in, but got to make sure you rest your body too?
I mean, that's the part that the parents and the coaches have to come to some type of balance with that kid. Because if not, I mean, yeah, you want them in the gym. You want them, and I have no problem with you, just getting the gym. But some of these tournaments these kids playing in right now, for what?
Right.
What's the point of it? Just because it's more reps for your AAU team? I mean, we would take our kids, and you see it, when we get these guys with Louisiana Elite. I mean, our first tournament might not be until live period.
Right.
And we get in the gym on one weekend and have 2 days of practice. But that was it.
Right.
And I mean, guys want to, I mean, these guys are all in on, they got full blown systems with their AAU teams and all that. I mean, we were out there drawing plays up in the mud, like you say growing up.
Right.
But I mean, we just taught our kids how to play hard and how to play the right way.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, these guys are, it's nonstop. And these kids are never getting opportunities to recover their bodies. Then when you get in college, it's literally nonstop. So by the time they get to the league,
they're broken up.
Your body's broken up.
So if you had a parent that has a kid that's 12 years old right now, and he's 6'4" and he has a chance, and his mom says, Coach G, I just don't know what to do. I have some people saying I need to rest his body. I got some people telling me he need to be in the gym a lot so he can keep getting better and develop so he can be ready by the time he's a senior in high school. What advice are you giving to her? What kind of schedule should she set up for her son?
I mean, you got to know when to say he needs to be a basketball player. And some days you got to stop and just say, no, he just needs to be a 12-year-old kid.
Yeah, he needs
you got to have a balance on him. Because again, man, these kids get burnt out on basketball. And we see it all the time.
They fall out of love.
They fall out of love with it. You got guys, all of a sudden, them guys get to the NBA. Guys want to become rappers. Guys working on their mixtapes. These kids, they've had so much stuff given to them growing up.
Right.
And then you get, situations where, we got the Mikey Williams and the Brandon Miller situation where these kids are, I got all this money, so instead of focusing on things that have been beneficial to me, these kids want to go buy guns
and do all kinds of stuff.
Because they just bored with basketball because you got them in the gym so much.
Right.
So then now they want to explore other things, and other things look cool to them.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
It's shiny, it looks entertaining.
Exactly. So you got to have
just
a
an
fine
escape
balance
from basketball.
That's it. So you have to give them that balance, and you have to say, all right, we've had enough. You need to shut down for a little while and take care of your body. You need to, and I'm not saying, step away from it completely.
Right.
Get in the gym, have you one solid skill workout a day.
Work on cardio.
That's it. But let's get away from, go and play, random AAU tournament on March 14th. Because what are you really getting out of it?
Right. I get.
You know what I'm saying?
Coach AJ said he wouldn't want his son playing AAU until he's like 10th grade.
10th grade.
Yeah.
He's strictly like skill
He
development.
says strictly skill development. Fall off the scene. Don't go play no AAU tournaments with nobody. And then 10th grade, boom.
I got one of my best friends. His son he's from New Orleans. They live in Dallas, and that was the approach he's had with his son. And I mean, his son's really good, but I mean, he just was not about to get. He was like, I'm not letting him get caught up into all the political side of AAU, and we're not just about to be playing in a bunch of tournaments just to play in it. Like, let's get in the gym. Let's really work out. Let's focus on you as a player. And then, like, when he started, they played AAU when they were young, but they always played up. They never played against their age.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Didn't care about, well, we're at this tournament and, we're getting whatever ranking. Like, what are we caring about rankings for at 12 years old, 13 years old?
Right.
Yeah, he may have
Let's just
a
go
whole
figure out how can we go get better as basketball players.
I know we got to get ready. We're trying to wrap up.
Okay.
But, gee, we know we have to do this when we wrap up the show. We got to get into Jay's faves.
Jay's favorites, man. Jay's favorites. Here we go. Favorite NBA player of all time.
Easy, Kobe.
Why
Mamba
you couldn't think
mentality.
about it?
No,
Mamba.
there's nothing to talk about.
Mamba mentality.
That's it.
Mamba.
What? Speed.
Jordan, stop.
I mean,
And you wrong for that because you came up in that era.
I came up in there. I never said that MJ's not the best player I ever seen with my eyes.
Favorite.
Kobe's my favorite basketball player of all time.
Gotcha. Favorite sneaker of all time.
That's tough. The original phone posit.
Oh. I've been trying to get them phones forever.
Good luck.
They about to come back out.
I need them.
They about to come back out.
I need them, bro.
I've been lurking on this one. They
Bro,
about to come out this year.
you talking about the first original, the blue?
The black with the blue.
Yeah.
Like the blue.
They coming
Yes.
out this year.
Good luck.
I need that.
Yeah.
I need that.
You're
I've been
not
wanting them phones forever.
Yeah.
Okay, I like that one.
I'm gonna give you a quick story before I know we gotta wrap up. Oh, so obviously that was the first $200 tennis shoe.
Right.
Yeah.
So I used to always just tell my mom, "Hey, mom, I need these shoes. They're coming out of the mall today. Can you pick them up on the way home from work?" My mama goes in the mall. She comes home like, "What the kick said? Them shoes $200. I'm not buying that."
You ain't worn them?
Huh?
You ain't worn them?
No. Why would I want? I knew what the answer was gonna be. I
You
knew
just
if
hope it-
I just
once
knew
you
if I
get
got
them-
it in there,
Yeah.
then she might just go ahead. All right.
She might just
Yeah.
pull the trigger.
So then my mama came home and was like, "Boy, I'm not spending $200 on shoes."
Right.
Oh, Lord.
Right.
So then I had to go call my dad and take some money from my dad and then go
And
buy
combine it?
And then I
Combine with your mama?
I just got the money straight from him,
Okay.
and he bought them for me.
Yeah.
And I came in the house and she saw me with them on one day going to school. She was like, "Where you get them from?" Like my daddy bought them. She's like, "You went and spent $200 on shoes?" Was heated at me.
Right. Right. Hey, they was worth it.
Oh yeah,
They was worth it. Favorite rapper all time.
easy, Jigga man.
Oh.
Hey, come on, man. Come on,
Easy.
man. Come
Easy.
on, man.
Coach
Come on, man.
Coach Chin like,
Why?
Don't play out here, man.
I don't know
Don't
why.
Don't play.
I don't know
Don't
why
play.
we keep
You need to
doing
come on, you
this
need to
to
come on
ourselves.
board.
Come on,
I don't
man.
know why.
Come on board.
I don't know why we keep doing it to
Come on
ourselves,
aboard.
man.
Most consistent flow of all hope. Just go put on lyrical exercise on Blueprint.
I
It tells
just-
you
hey.
why he's the best of ever.
Nah, man, I don't hear all that. I just, tell me why he stole my dog Ryan.
Oh, man. It's a copycat lead.
I don't give a damn.
I'm sure you done stole
But he-
something
but-
from a D-line coach.
but he-
We borrow.
He
There's a
took-
difference. There's a difference. And I clearly say, and we clearly, hey, look, man, I learned this from
I mean,
Carl
but he-
Dunbar. Man, I'm talking about word for word. It just put pops on it. I'm a hustler, baby.
He made it a rap line.
But
I
he-
made it a hot song.
But I mean, but he tell you
He
why.
took his whole underground. I can see if I ain't know nothing big underground. It was like I can see if you took like, all right, I'm gonna take 8. He taking the whole 32.
But I mean, he
It
gave
just
you,
put a
he gave
hook
you
on
the
it.
whole breakdown on why he did it though.
I don't care.
He told you. What more can I say?
He didn't say nothing into camera. I said, y'all really think this is bad stuff? And then he goes out and put it on it. And then Jada came back and said something about it. It was like, he went at Cam. He was like, all right, Jada, do
Yeah, but I mean, any real hip hop head knew he was using those. Like,
Yeah, I don't care. So
But,
that's why I get.
but did he tell you? I'm like, I use them because I'm bigging my brother up.
Yeah, I would hit
But
that shit.
I also know my own flow foolish.
There you go.
But you took it.
There you go.
Took it.
You didn't
bitter.
borrow.
You're bitter.
How
You're
am I
bitter.
bitter?
You're
My
bitter.
dog don't get his respect
He get respect.
No,
he just
he
ain't had a longevity.
That's it.
because he got killed.
Yeah, that's
Sound like a personal
that's
problem.
Personal problem. He had 2 albums.
Wow.
Personal problem.
You had like he came out there and said, "Hey, Big in the house."
He made
shoot
an album
me.
called "Ready to Die."
It's a lyrical
Life after death.
bars,
There you
Life
go.
after death.
bars,
Moving on.
Born again.
bars.
Favorite coach of all time, no matter what, middle school, high school, college, don't matter. That made the most impact on you.
Like, directly to me, or
No, it don't have to be directly
It don't
to
have
you.
directly
Just
to you.
your favorite coach.
Your favorite
you know,
coach.
it might have made an impact on you from afar.
okay, yeah, John Thompson.
That white towel, baby.
That's it.
Towel, baby.
I mean, because you again, like we talked about earlier, like you didn't think about Georgetown without thinking about Big John.
You had to.
You
It's a
had
damn
to.
shame what's going on with that program.
Yeah, hopefully, Coach Cooley can turn it
Yeah,
around
hopefully.
because
Hopefully.
it's definitely needed.
Yes, yes.
Because I mean, nothing was like watching Big Monday,
yeah.
and Georgetown's out
Yeah,
there versus Syracuse
In the Big East, yeah.
In the Big East.
Yes, yes, yes.
Big East isn't longer.
Right. Favorite movie of all time?
That's kind of hard.
It
'Cause there's so many,
It is.
but I mean, like Lion King.
Somebody else said Lion King. Was it
Lion-
Tajay Spears? Somebody said Lion King.
It was Tajay or Rory, one of the two. 'Cause they were
Somebody said Lion
back
King.
to back.
Lion King's all time classic.
I gotta ask this question because we had such a heated debate on the last show about it. Favorite comedian of all time.
I saw y'all talking about that. I think I hit y'all up about this.
Yeah, but you don't understand my reason. Can I explain my reason?
No.
Sure, be my guest.
Okay. It's just like Bo Jackson, right? I'm
Mhm.
going to relate it to sports terms.
Mhm.
Bo Jackson played in the league, what, 4 years, 5 years? Had a hell of a 5 years,
Mm-hmm.
right? Had he kept playing, don't you think he probably would have been arguably a top 5 running back ever to play this game?
The world may never know.
I'm just saying, from his skill set, from what you saw.
Yeah. No
That's-
doubt.
So when you talk about somebody like Chris Tucker only did 2 stand-ups, and then he became Muslim.
But then that goes back to what you was just saying to him about.
Oh, hypocrite!
No,
Hypocrite!
I
Oh,
didn't say he was the best comedian. I said he's my favorite comedian.
Hit it, Jay.
And I feel like if Chris Tucker never becomes a Muslim, he will be probably arguably the best comedian of all
He's
time.
not better than Bernie.
Bernie Mac got way more criteria. He got way more,
Material.
that he's done.
Yeah.
Chris Tucker only did Def Jam, and he did, I forgot the other one he did. He only did 2, and he became a Muslim. He stopped cursing. Just saying. If he had not, be real, if he hadn't done that, the path that he was on.
He was not. He still wouldn't have beat Bernie.
All right, for sure. See.
He still wouldn't have beat Bernie.
His run with Friday and the 3 rush hours.
Money
I mean,
talks.
like, money talks. I mean, he had a hell of a
Believe
run.
it or not, he's really funny in The Fifth Element.
Yeah.
I don't think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was,
If you watch The Fifth
the
Element,
movie with him
Element,
and
he's
Bruce
pretty-
Willis. And,
Yeah. I did see that.
Nah.
I'm just saying, like, his career kind of got cut short because of him becoming a Muslim.
Hey, we all make choices.
That's why he wasn't in Friday After Next. That's why they put
Mike Epps.
Mike Epps in it.
Mike Epps funny. Isn't he?
That's what I'm just saying.
But I mean, Bernie Mac Bernie just took over certain scenarios. Like Bernie carried Kings of Comedy.
Yes.
Yes.
Bernie, House Party 3.
Yeah.
Like Bernie
Ooh,
carried that.
ooh, they used to call you Jumbo.
It was just like his energy. You know what I'm saying? Like I remember Chris Tucker being on Def Comedy Jam,
Right.
and he was really good. And the crazy part was him and Bernie was on the same episode,
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
and Chris Tucker was the second guy,
Mm-hmm.
and he was good. But Bernie energy after that was just different.
But
I ain't
Bernie
scared
was
of
way
you
more of a.
motherfuckers.
Bernie was a vet.
I ain't
He
scared.
was.
Chris
He
Tucker
had a-
was just kind
he was
of
a puppy,
bursting
yeah.
onto the scene. You know what I mean?
Kick ass.
You know what I'm saying? But it just
You don't understand.
you know what I'm saying? Bernie just is like, to me, is like the best comedian, like all around comedian there is. He got the punchlines. He got the storytelling. He got the facial expressions, like the just boom boom. Like it's it's never been a time I hadn't seen Bernie Mac where I just didn't bust out laughing.
Yeah.
You
Now,
know
I'm
what
gonna
I'm saying?
tell y'all a name y'all didn't throw out there the other day when y'all were talking about this. Dave Chappelle.
Dave Chappelle.
Yeah.
Dave
Chappelle.
Dave out there.
Dave
Yeah.
Chappelle, funny as hell, boy.
Yeah.
Yes.
But,
yes.
but like when he said Chris Tucker, I just felt like
we was talking about favorites.
yeah, I know.
Favorites.
Favorites. But I was just thinking this yeah, but this he said Eddie Murphy, and I Eddie, yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Eddie's special too, bro.
Eddie ain't funny than Richard Pryor.
Yeah,
Eddie's special.
He's not
dog.
funny than Richard Pryor, but Eddie is the pioneer for every comedian you see today.
What?
no,
Eddie Murphy. is the-
Pioneer?
no.
If I
no,
take
stop,
Eddie Murphy
stop,
out of
Tom
comedy,
Statement.
stop.
a lot of
He
the
won. I ain't gonna lie.
comics,
He's an
not-
icon. I'm not gonna take that
Yeah,
from him.
yeah.
you don't get these guys like that.
He is what this
Eddie
is what
is their godfather.
no, because
See,
you gotta
you
stop.
went
You gotta
fuck-
stop
see, you
that
go
because
too far.
Nah,
Richard
Pryor the
Pryor
Yeah, man,
is the
you
one
right,
that
the
made
guy.
Eddie.
But-
It did.
But
what-
Eddie's
what
the
Eddie-
But
what
the younger
Eddie
comedians don't
did
look up
was
to Richard Pryor.
what-
That's not their
they-
generation.
because they don't know him. That's
Of
the only
course, they
difference.
know Eddie Murphy.
But the thing is, Eddie
This
Murphy was
generation?
made. Yes,
This generation don't know Eddie Murphy
This-
like that.
this-
They don't
Eddie
know Eddie
Murphy
Murphy.
was made by Richard Pryor. But what Eddie Murphy gets the biggest respect to me is when he made it. He brought everybody that made him along with him. He brought back the Richard Pryor into our generation. He brought the Red Fox into our generation. He brought the Robin Harris into our generation.
Right.
Like it's kind of like what Adam Sandler is doing on his side of the fence. It's like, hey, he made it and he brought his group of guys. Like keep coming. Like I'm not gonna let you not come with me. That's what Eddie. That's what Eddie
Eddie
did.
did with Saturday Night Live, and what Eddie started doing with his movies, in terms of pioneering, like not just comedy but movies as a comedian.
Yeah.
Eddie Murphy is the pioneer of that.
Yeah.
Then you start seeing the comics that come behind it, like today, you're Kevin Hart's, and like even back then, you're Chris Rock's, and the people who
Kevin Hart got a whole different style than Eddie.
they're not. I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about the style. I'm talking about like in terms of who they looked up to.
Right.
Yeah,
They looked up to Eddie Murphy.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. Man, it's always good getting my boy G on the podcast, man. I know this is the first time you came on the set. We usually be doing it Zoom, man, but man, keep elevating in your profession, bro. I know big things coming your way, especially with how passionate you are about the game of basketball, man. I look forward to seeing what you guys gonna do over there on the lakefront this upcoming season. Hopefully the transfer portal and these recruits coming in are good to y'all. And y'all put yourself in position, man, to get in the Southland Conference Championship. And you got to fight Will Wade off now.
Yeah.
But, hopefully y'all can make it happen, man, and get into that NCAA tournament, man, and get the Privateers back on the scene, bro.
Yeah, man. Definitely appreciate y'all having me on today.
Absolutely.
And like I said, man, y'all gotta come. Y'all gotta make sure y'all come stop by. It's about to be some big things on the lakefront this season.
Definitely, bro.
I'm calling it right now.
Always a good time with Cousin Pete, baby.
Definitely.
I do got to ask you one question before we run out here. Who makes the finals?
Ooh.
Who makes the finals? Before I got to go, I got to know. Who makes the
I
finals?
wish we had the Law and Order theme music. Doom doom.
I'm going with the Bucks, and I'm biased. I'm still rolling with my Warriors.
I got the Celtics and the Warriors.
Still rolling with my
That's my
Warriors.
finals prediction. Celtics and Warriors.
As long as you got somebody for Duke in there, I don't care.
Oh, Lord. Listen, I do think the Celtics make it, but I'm a big history junkie, and the last time a 6 seed made the finals was your Rockets, 95. There hasn't been a 6 seed that made the finals since then, so I can't take them. I'm going to take Denver.
Denver?
In the show.
Yeah.
In the show.
Make sure y'all subscribe to the FanView Live page. Make sure y'all
Denver
like,
Nuggets.
share to a friend. Make sure you subscribe to the G-Sportz page.
Yes.
Like, share to another friend, to another friend, another friend. We're going to keep this content coming, man. Appreciate y'all, bro.
There it is. Y'all already know the FanView podcast, man. Listen, like, subscribe, share, comment, share, friend with a friend. Y'all already know what it is. You did. Look, y'all can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at BFredJones.
Follow me on Instagram and Twitter. On Instagram, G-Sportz with a Z on the end. And on Twitter, G_sports with a Z on the end.
You can follow me on Instagram at big_homie_hen and on Twitter at heyyou15.